Let's go ahead and take a look at, well, maybe how we would incorporate some other components into this dashboard and not just having our bots interact with just the dashboard, but maybe they share some shared persistence or shared state via a database. And so what you can see here is I am going to create a SQLite database. It's going to be called the aptly named database.db, and we'll create a table. This will be the reviews. And so this will be the ID of the message, right, that's generated by the bot for the review, the channel that this message was sent in, the URL that the user submitted, and then also the current date time. And we'll just use UTC timestamp here instead of a localized date time, just to keep things simple. Then we'll have a second table, right? This will be my block URL. So this will keep track of all the URLs that I've blocked. And you can see that this is an event-based table. So I'm not going to be updating it. I'm just going to be inserting to it. And we'll need to do just a little bit of work to get the latest blocked URLs. And that's what this helper method does for us. We're going to select all three of our columns out, and then we're going to group by our URL and get the latest timestamp. We're going to say, hey, is this currently blocked? Because it's a very valid thing to say, okay, I want to block all the URLs from, Hacker News, or block all the URLs from, some site. And then later, maybe a few months later, maybe say, you know what, that was a little bit rash on my end. I'm going to unblock it. And so this is what this ability gives us. And we don't lose the historicality. So I wouldn't lose that information of like, well, have I ever blocked all of google.com before? In this case, you could query the database and you could actually see, oh, I blocked it, and then I unblocked it, then I blocked it. And so we just have a few helper methods here to help us interface with our database. A lot of times you'll dish this out to something like an ORM because I'm actively transferring between actual records in a database and objects that I'm using in my Python-based scripts. But in this case, we'll just rely on some helper methods here. And so all I'm going to do is I'm going to initialize my database. And since I'm using AIO SQLite here, everything's going to be run asynchronously. So these are all coroutines. I could have gathered all of these into a single coroutine, but I think you'll understand the point here. Let's go ahead and fetch my latest block URL. And you can see, well, I have an empty URL in here, so that's probably bad data filtering on my part. But you can see I enter 1, 2, 3, and I say this is blocked. And then I enter 4, 5, 6, and I say this is not blocked. And so that's what the 0 and the 1 represent. 1 meaning 1, 2, 3 is blocked, 4, 5, 6 is not blocked. And the nice thing about the fetch latest is it will only give me the most up-to-date state of our URLs here. And so we can change the state of each of these and then rely on this function in order to do a lot of the appropriate work here. And then what you were seeing here, we would probably need to track a higher fidelity of date times. Right now we're just going down to the second. And so since I ran an insertion, right, one after the other, I would actually need to sleep in between these two to actually have my records update appropriately. Just something to think about when you're managing databases, about how they're being updated and how you're using them. But we can see all of our data that we've pulled, and you can see I just inserted a ton of records into my database. And so this is how we're going to want our bot to interact with our dashboard through an intermediary, through a database in this case. And so what I'll do here is we have all our bot code, we have all of our database code, and you can see that this script is getting quite long here. And then we have our dashboard that we created above. Then what we need to do is we need to extract the current state of things out from our database, and I'll store that just into a data frame for convenience here. And you can see, right, which URLs were blocked and when they were blocked. Then I want to preload, right, those currently blocked things into my dashboard, and I just do this by passing a list version of my blocked URLs into my dashboard here. Let's go ahead, and I won't start my bot just yet, but I do want to start my dashboard to ensure that my dashboard is starting with the correct state. So let's give that a refresh. You can see that I already have my 2 blocked URLs here, 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, and 6. And so we did successfully start our dashboard with statefulness, or with some preloaded kind of URLs here. So let's see if the bot is aware of these things. So we would need to configure the bot to pull from the database. So every time it receives a slash command, it has to pull from the database, get these latest blocked URL list, and then it has to see, is the URL that the user passed in this list? And so what I would actually need to do here is change a little bit of my bot code, and you'll see that this change is already here. But I'm going to re-instantiate that data frame that we just saw, filter it down to only the blocked responses, and then check, right, if our URL is in our database here. And then we'll respond again with a message. So let's see if this works with our bot. So we know that google.com should work, and I think I need to restart my bot here. I actually commented this code out. Just start that bot up in a separate thread. That's good. That's good. Give that a run. There we go. Bot started, server started, and the bot is ready to roll. Google.com works. And now there's a very interesting question here that I'll get to in just a moment. Let's see, does 1, 2, 3 work? Oh, 1, 2, 3 was blocked because it matched the URL on our block list, which our dashboard reflected. And so now our dashboard is reflecting the state of our database, and our bot is also reflecting the state of our database. And the trick is, right, to keep these two things in synchrony with each other. And so what this means is that every time we add a new URL to our block list here on our dashboard, we want this to actually update our state here. And we need to add blocked URL, self.text there. And then once we do that, right, we need to actually update our database. And so we're using a little bit of our database helper function here, insert block URL, and then running that to actually update our database on the back end there. Let's see here. So google.com is now blocked, and let's verify that's true. All right, and now let's see if I restart this application, if it maintains that state. So go ahead and I've refreshed this application. That's why the text cleared out. And you can see that google.com is still here. So that's a very nice feature of being able to interact with a bot in this fashion. And so it looks like our code has worked. And so there's so much code here. So let's go ahead and refactor. I'll put the bot code into a bot.py file. I'll put my database code into a database.py file. And then we're just going to improve this dashboard just a little bit. And so you can see I'm using the same parameter as class, and I've tucked away a lot of my database code into their own modules. And then I'll just be importing those as I need them. And so in this version of our dashboard, we will be looking at the exact same features, but, well, if I can add something, maybe I want to remove a URL too. And so what we'll do here to define our parameters, as I mentioned, panel has or uses under the hood a library called param, and you can actually generate widgets from those parameters. And so I'm just going to generate those widgets for myself, and then I'm actually going to change a little bit of the aesthetics of those widgets. So if you're familiar with HTML button types, is our add URL button is going to be a success, and our remove button is going to have a danger button type. So we just get those nice kind of bootstrap-like colors. Then go ahead and add all of those widgets and output to our panel or to our dashboard. And we'll wrap up by adding things. Let's make sure all this code is here. So we have our add blocked URL. And this appropriately adds a blocked URL to our database. And what we want is a remove URL, which is defined right here. And in our removed URL, right, we remove the URL from our block list, so we update the state of our dashboard, and then we have that reflect on the front end as well. And let's give this a go and see what our dashboard looks like. All right, so bot's up and running. And the bot is using the same code from before. So the bot is simply querying the database. And now you can see we have 2 buttons here instead of just 1. So let's go ahead and add 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's add dutc.io. You can see that this is added here to the bottom of my list. And let's see if this works, dutc.io. All right, that's blocked. But maybe I realize at some point, wait, that was a mistake. And I remove it. And now let's see if it works. And you can see that the bot is appropriately polling, right, my database in order to figure out, should I be posting this URL or should I not? And I'd say this is a fairly successful example of a bot interfacing with a bot through a dashboard that we have here. And so before we wrap up for today, I did want to answer or talk to kind of one final question here. And that is, well, what if we want to actually send information from the bot, or we want to issue a command, I should say, from the dashboard to the bot? And so what we would need to do is we would need to actually add another feature to our dashboard. And so this is just another reactive parameter, and it's going to be another entry form, and then there's going to be a button that does something with the current state of that entry form, or that entry field, I should say. And we're actually just going to have it send a message, and I'm going to use our channel from our bot, right, that's attached to the bot. You can see I told the bot to get the channel for our text channel that we're currently in, and then we're going to run that in the bot's own event loop. And we can wrap this up. Let's see, just making sure all this code should work. Everything's looking good here. But just because it looks good on the code side doesn't mean it's necessarily going to work. We've updated our panel. We can see that these were persisted in our database, which is what we want. And let's make sure that still works. So I'll try google.com there. Okay, that's blocked appropriately. And then maybe I want to use this bot to send a message. I can actually issue a command. And it issues hello from this bot. And that's sent as a message into this channel. And of course, we could add different channels. We could have a drop down of all the channels that this bot is subscribed to send messages to each of these channels. But the point is that we have bidirectional communication from our dashboard to our bot via a database, right? And that's how we were tracking our blocked URLs. But we also, by running these in the same process, it simplifies our lives just a little bit because I can actually access the instance of this bot, and I can have that bot issue commands, and I can do that by interfacing from my dashboard so that individuals who don't know, anything about this bot or really anything about the composability of this dashboard or how it was created, well, they can have some administrative factors as well. Maybe they're a moderator and they need to be blocking individuals in a automated fashion. And so maybe they could use this dashboard to filter down. I could do something like a glob-based search or a regex-based search for usernames because maybe a bunch of spammers just joined my channel. I need to kick them all out. And so I could actually use a front end to interface with Discord via a bot and actually issue commands that way. And I could actually interface with my bot back and forth just by having the bot request data from Discord as needed, or having the bot having my bot request data from my own local database as needed. You can see here that I stored just the message IDs in my database. And I was doing that because I figure, I don't want to run the risk of my local database becoming out of sync with whatever Discord has. And so I'll probably want my bot to hold on to the messages that it sends, and so I'll hold on to those IDs. But if I need any other information, how many emojis are currently on that message, well, I can simply have the bot request that information from Discord via its own API. But that takes us to the end of our session here today. I wanted to thank you all for coming. This session was a lot of fun to put together, being able to work with bots in a manner that is not necessarily just a pure code interactive or a fully automated or a fully manual process. Having some form of almost automation around your automation can be beneficial for some tasks. And I won't say it's beneficial for every task, but you can see that for very long running automations, like having our link blocking bot, or a link reviewing bot, I should say, is very useful to have a couple of hook points that users or administrators can interact with that bot to affect its behavior and affect the downstream Discord channel. Well, thank you all very much for joining. If you do want the code and materials from today, I will be sharing it on our Discord server. So join us there and come talk about Python, your favorite uses for it, and of course, bots. You might be seeing a bot coming onto our Discord server, but I'll save that for later.